Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well. So not too long ago, I made a video on my top picks for the best legendary weapons in the game. So today, we're gonna do the same thing, but for epic weapons. And right off the bat, you can skip all of these machine guns. And it's the same reason as with the legendary machine guns. After the hit scan removal, all of these became kind of obsolete. The Miller was decent, but they gave these ammo and it's just a lot weaker now. As for the epic shotguns, pretty much the same thing. I believe they did buff the Thunderbolt and the Rupture shotgun, but I have not tried them yet since then. The Fafnir is kind of trash. The Gremlins are kind of decent in combination with the Tritons, but on their own, they're pretty weak. And for the Aerotrons are actually pretty good if you can get used to the firing mechanism, and if you have them upgraded, they're pretty alright. But for me personally, they're a little bit too frustrating to play. So we're just gonna move on to the next category, the autocannons. Like I mentioned in the other video, all of these autocannons are pretty good. The Jewels are still very strong. The Whirls, they got nerfed a little bit, but they're still quite effective. And the Whirlwinds, although strong, they have the same issue as the Stillwinds. They're good when you're sniping far away and nobody's bugging you, but as soon as you get rushed, you're pretty much cooked. So on my list, I will put... So on my list, I have the Jewel as one of the weapons you could get. Oh, and by the way, last time I also checked the prices. Yeah, okay. If your budget is big, you can get the Jewels, 3 of them, and still have a good time. If your budget is small, I would just avoid autocannons altogether. The reason why is that the Whirl autocannon, although strong, you're gonna need a specific high tier build in order to make them effective. And the same thing with the Whirlwinds. You can't just use a newbie or beginner build and run these, you're gonna get cooked. But if you do have one Whirlwind, maybe you got it out of a container, you can combine it with a Storm or a Term as well and have a decently good DPS. Same thing with the Whirl and the Tempest, you can combine them and have a pretty decent power score and DPS. Before we move on, let's take a look at these prices real quick. Okay, Thunderbolt is kind of cheap, Fafnir is cheap. Ooh. That's really expensive. Caucasus is okay. Miller is still quite expensive. The Fidget is actually... Oh, because of the engraved casings. Even though these weapons are cheap, I would still avoid them, to be honest. Now for cannons. The Nagual... people keep telling me that these are great. I don't see the appeal in them, man. I tried them multiple times. And they're okay at best, but for the durability and what they can do, nah, man, I'm good. The Fat Man... I would say the Fat Mans are they've always been great, but in today's meta, they just feel a little bit outclassed by everything else. As for the other cannons, if coins is not an issue, I would still get the Raijin. It's still very strong, very powerful, 1500 coins. In 2025, I would not recommend the 88s or the Fat Man. I always did, but the problem is now, if you make a decently optimized build with epic weapons, they're gonna be around 8k, and you will 100% face 12k's, 15k builds, and you're just gonna get cooked. If you want to experience cannons, I would say get the teal ones and just try to stick at 7k power score. It's not that the Fat Man and the Executioner are bad weapons, it's just that they're kind of rough to play right now. Almost everything outclasses them. As for the rocket launchers, there are plenty of good choices over here. I recently made a video on the Locust. These are very, very strong. The Flutes are very strong, but they're not for everybody. They're very tricky to master. The Snowfalls are very strong with the Step Spider Cabin or the Dust Cabin, but also not for everybody. The Crickets are still the OG. Normal Crickets are not that effective, but if you can get them upgraded for a faster fire rate or projectile speed, these become very, very deadly. The Pyre is trash. The Nest, also made a video on these not too long ago. The Nest in combination... Oh, the Nest on its own is pretty trash, but the Nest in combination with the Arbor Track, Step Spider Cabin, and a Trombone is extremely devastating and even downright disgusting. But on its own, it's pretty trash. And the Tow Missile, if you can optimize it, it's still pretty good. If you don't optimize it, it's pretty lame. Let's take a look at their prices real quick. Yeah, all of them are priced very well. Whoa, wow. This is very cheap. Yeah, so the Crickets are still the cheapest and probably one of the best weapons to get, but you need a pretty good build in order to use these. So my picks are the Locust rocket launchers and the Crickets. If you can get the combination, like I mentioned, with the Step Spider Cabin and Trags, The nest is also a very good option with a trombone, of course. Moving on to the grenade launchers, I haven't seen people use the Yongwang in ages, so I would not recommend that. The GL55s are okay, but the treasures are just superior. You get 2 treasures and you're good to go, my friend. And that's why the treasure is also on my list. Moving on to energy weapons. Ooh, there's a lot of epic energy weapons. The Aurora is okay, not a big fan. The Gravistar is top tier, definitely on the list. The Quasar also on the list, very, very strong, especially if you can upgrade them. Even non-upgraded are okay, but you're gonna struggle a little bit with the projectile speed. The Prometheus are okay, but 200 health, yeah, no thanks. The triggers are actually pretty good too. I recently did make a video on them and they're pretty effective. Personally, I'm not a big blockchain fan. They're kinda weak. People keep telling me that they're strong, not like even 2 days ago telling me that I should try them with the photon cabin and some heat, but I don't know. The yokais are tricky to master and it really depends on the type of build the enemy has. Against hovers and spiders, it's decent. Against ground builds, it's very difficult. And it's also quite expensive. And then we have the Akari, which it's a weapon, but I don't really include it. It has its purpose, but it's not for regular PvP. So out of all these epic weapons, the Gravistar and the Quasar are pretty well priced. The other ones are slightly cheaper because they are worse, except for the yokai and the Akari, which are pack items. As for the crossbows, I would not get any of these epic crossbows. I've seen people master the spike crossbow, but they're upgraded, obviously. Non-upgraded, they're pretty horrible, and they're also effective in the impulsiveness game mode. That's pretty much it. The Phoenix is fun, but just, you know, it's just fun. I would not like get it. And the Varun still sucks. It's something to play with when you're bored, but it's not really fun. Moving on to melee weapons, the Lancelots died. They're good for 1 kill, and that's pretty much it. The Tachi is, I don't know, like I said, just with the Varun, it's fun to use, but I would not recommend it. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the melee items over here, but in combination with each other, the Mauler and the Lacerator is pretty effective. But for me personally, they're not on my list. Let's take a look at these prices though. Yeah, they're pretty well priced. The Spike is super expensive now because of I think the impulsiveness game mode. Moving on to flame weapons. The Remedy, they're a good taste of flame weapons as an epic weapon early on, but that's about it. They're not OP, they're not super duper weak, they're just okay. The Incinerator, on the other hand, I still think it's a god tier weapon. Especially for the price, it's not too bad. And if you combine it now with the photon cabin, I think I also made a video on these recently. Pretty devastating, man. Cryogenic weapons, same thing as the legendary ones. I think they're trash. Not really my playstyle. They don't do anything great. The Jotuns are okay, but I prefer the Incinerator, to be honest. As for the mine layers, using 1 cap can is not as effective anymore. You usually want to use 2, but it's a trap, not really a weapon. The King Mine is good for the Hadron Cabin. That's the only reason I use it. I don't use it as a weapon on its own. And the Dooms are actually pretty strong, but not my favorite weapon. And now we have the drones. There are actually a lot of epic drones. So we have the Owl, which is trash. We have the Grenadier, which it's decent. It's not the best thing in the world. Not on my list though. We have the Phantom, which are on, yep, that's why they're expensive. They are on the list, extremely annoying. The Fuse Drone, not as effective anymore. And same thing with the Cobra or Anaconda. Not as, wow, these are really cheap. Not as effective anymore. The Punji is straight up trash. The barriers are effective, but they're a shield. And then we have the Yaogwai, which are annoying, but they're not that amazing and are OP anymore. And then we have the uncategorized weapons. We got the Corvos. Since they lost their hit scan, they became trash. The nail guns are just a little bit too weak. We have the Astros, which is... people are telling me I used them wrong recently, so I should revisit them. They're telling me that I should not charge the shot because I checked the patch notes after the video I did because people were complaining, and the non-charged shots damage got increased by 50% and the charged shot damage got increased by 30%. So doing non-charged shots should be good, people are telling me, but I would still not get them though. The Charon is, I mean, if you want to taste, ooh, wow, if you want to feel how pulse accelerators feel, you could get them. They're pretty decently priced. The adapters, I still think they're trash. The Skinner is not that great anymore. And then the Enlightenment, the most powerful weapon in the game. Just kidding. Yeah, I think they should just rework the Enlightenment. Nobody uses it. All right, so those were my picks. So you got the Jewel, the Raijin, the Locust, the Crickets, the Thresher, the Gravistar, the Quasar. I would even say the Trigger. I think I missed that. The Trigger is also pretty good. Skip the Crossbow. This melee combo is pretty good. Skip the other ones. Incinerator and the Phantom Drones. That's pretty much it. Now, personally, right now on my free-to-play account, I need to get my first epic weapon. I was gonna get some equalizers, but now they're not that great anymore. So personally, if I would have to get an epic weapon, I would probably go for either Threshers, but they're kind of expensive, or Quasars. The Gravistars are good too, but I don't have the parts to run a good Gravistar build. The Incinerators are also very strong, but I don't have the parts to run a good Incinerator build. The only other cheap options are the drones over here, like the turrets, but these are kind of trash. The Cricket would be a very good option, but I don't have the parts to run a good Cricket build. I would have to use a wheeled build, and I'm not a big fan of the wheeled Cricket builds. I do have a Beacon 11 cabin on that account. So another good combo would be the Beacon 11, 2 Fat Man, and 2 armored tracks, and just have fun like that. So that was it for today's video, fellas. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found it informative. If you did, I hope I earned your like and a subscription to the channel. If you guys want to see more, you can do that by watching one of these 2 videos over here, and I'll see you there in a minute. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Peace.